Hello, party people. My name's Adam Lane. You're listening to another episode, a special episode of Oak Performance Radio. Enjoy the show. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Oak Performance Radio. I'm your host, Adam Lane. If you're new to the show, our goal here is to create some content, some fantastic content for athletes, parents, and coaches. We tell stories, have laughs, and go into everything that is the end game of athletic performance, helping athletes achieve their optimal performance and be the best they can possibly be. Enjoy the show. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Oak Performance Radio, a solo episode today, guys. A solo episode today. I've had this on my mind for a while, and I want to share some thoughts. We are into fall sports here. This podcast is being recorded on the 28th of September, and we're into sports. We're doing things, and guys, it's so interesting to me because I love sport. I love it so much. I feel like I learned so much as a kid growing up playing sports, winning, losing, starting, bench, then start. I feel like I learned a lot, and a lot of what I learned then, I think carried on in the way of working with teams and being competitive, and then also the health aspect of taking care of your body and being healthy long term. I think I learned a lot from growing up with sport and that. And guys, I want to point out to parents because I watched a lot of sports, and we obviously coach a lot of VC United Club volleyball, and my kids do flag football, and they do tackle football, and they do wrestling, and they do lacrosse, and they've done soccer, and they've done lots of different things, and they continue. I like keeping them active. I like allowing them to do different sports. We do kind of have the rule: I don't care what sport you play, but I need you to do something, kind of each season and stuff like that. I just don't want you taking a season off and, not doing anything. We try not to be crazy with it because you can get crazy with it, and it can be too much. And so the thing I want to dial back to, we had her on the podcast a while ago, but Jennifer, oh my gosh, now I'm forgetting her last name. She was from League One Volleyball. Oh my gosh, what's Jen's last name? Oh my gosh, this is embarrassing. Anywho, I will fill this out. But she was the one that coached down in Georgia, won multiple national championships with her college program down there. It was a D3 program. But they built such an amazing culture and climate for these kids to excel with, and just did a fantastic job. And her recommendation, I thought this was so brilliant, but her recommendation was, when you're talking to your kid after the game, ask them 3 questions. Were they a good teammate? Did you work hard? And did you have fun? And anything past that, if the kid wants to talk, you let them talk. But let's break those down. Were you a good teammate? That is a big frigging deal. That's a big deal. Did you communicate? Did you give people high fives? Were you salt and light, to your teammates? Was a kid down and you helped them up, not just physically, but like emotionally and mentally? Like, hey, we got you, brother. You're good. You're good. Hey, yeah, you missed that tackle. We're going to get the next one. Hey, you missed that ball. We're going to get the next one. Like, were you a good teammate? That's what your kid needs to learn. That's what my kid needs to learn. Kids need to learn. That's what they need to be good at. That's huge. That is massive. And let's be clear, kids aren't great at that. Adults aren't great at that. We're all worried about ourselves and how good we are if we're doing it. We're making, what about us? Did you see me? Were you a good teammate? That's a big friggin' deal. Now, if you think back, friends, think back to when we played ball back in the day. If my dad was iPhoning all of my freaking strikeouts in baseball all the time, 4 balls, Adam's pitching, whoop, get down to first base. Every error I made, oh my gosh, I don't know if I would have kept playing. Because there were a lot of strikeouts. There were a lot of when I pitched, a lot of balls, a lot of walks being given up, a lot of errors being made on the field through the years. And we all have this. All these kids have this. But I think it's harder to be a kid these days because dad's sitting out there with his phone ready to Instagram you, if you do good. And if he doesn't do good, we'll just delete that video, there's just a lot of pressure on the kids. We didn't have this pressure. Okay. The most pressure I felt in sports was Saturday morning after a high school football game that night before, because we knew we were watching the film. And all this was going to be documented, and we saw the good and we saw the bad. It was a learning experience. You're not wrong. Learning experience. But like, gosh, that was pressure. But who put that pressure on us? The coach. The coach put that pressure on. Why? Because that's what they get paid to do. Not the parents. Parents, that's not your role. Okay? That's not my role as my kids. Right? That's not my role to coach my parents. Coach my parents. Coach my kids. But my role is to parent my kids. And so coming back to this, were you a good teammate? Were you a good teammate? That's what you need to work on as a parent. A coach can work with that too, obviously. But that's a big deal for a parent. Okay? Number 2, did you work hard? Did you work hard? Did you, when they said sprint, did you sprint? Okay? When they said go, did you go like hard as you can? Okay? Or did you just kind of, did you walk through it? Did you really get after it? Did you work really, really hard? And that's a big deal. That's a big deal. Because if kids skate early on, okay, my kids are 10 and 13, okay, basically middle school. Okay, if they skate as middle schoolers, they might skate as high schoolers. Okay, not saying you go insane, not saying you have 7-hour practices, but like you need to work hard. Like that's why you're here. Again, that work ethic, in my opinion, will transfer into school. It'll transfer into, whatever job they do later in life. Like that. I think that's a big deal. I think that's a big deal. Did you work hard? And then the last thing, which I think is very, very overlooked, is did you have fun? And this is where I think sports specialization is hard. Because if you just play one sport 12 months a year, I'm not saying you can't do it, but you have to have fun with it. It's got to be fun. It's got to be like the best hour of your day, best 2 hours of your day. It's your release. It's your happy place. But it's got to be that all the time. If it's too stressful, if it's too crazy, okay, if parents put too much pressure on, coaches are already putting pressure on, but now parents put pressure on top of that. They're putting pressure on themselves. These kids, your kids, it's really easy. And I say this because I've seen it. I've seen so many kids who, when you talk to them as 8th graders, freshmen, sophomores, I want to play college. 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 And I believe them. I just went to AHQ's parent night. Okay. And Coach Joe was sitting there in front of his 16, 17, and 18-year-olds. And he says, raise your hand if you want to play in college. Literally every arm went up. Every kid is like, yeah, I love this. I love this. I want to do this in college. That's how much I love this. I want to work so hard. Maybe they give me money to go play this. Well, that's awesome. And I want to commend that. That's amazing. However, it's really easy if you are 16 or 15 or 14 and you do this one thing over and over and over and over and over. At some point you get burnt out. I've been burnt out. I don't know if you've been burnt out, to the point where what happens when you're burnt out? You don't care. You don't care. So, I know I said I wanted to play college, but now I don't even care. I don't care. It's not fun anymore. I don't care. Okay. I'm not saying everything has to be rainbows and sunshine and but like you, when you get pushed to the point where your parents are constantly nagging on you to do this, that, or the other thing. Okay. When your coaches are coaching / nagging you, but they're kind of allowed to, because they're the coach. Like that's what they're supposed to do, and you put pressure on yourself. And now there's this outside pressure of getting recruited and stuff like that. Guys, I can't tell you, I've seen too many kids get to the end of their high school career and be like, I don't want to play college anymore. Or they go to college and they try it for a season, or maybe they don't even make it through the season. And they're like, yeah, I'm just done. I'm ready for the next chapter, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. If they leave on their own accord, not that it's beat out of them. Not that they're just exhausted and they just like to do, maybe injury after injury after injury because they kept playing the same sport over and over and over. Maybe because they didn't do proper strength and conditioning, in which to keep them strong and healthy for the battle of sport that they go to every single day. Maybe they specialize so much that they're only doing this one movement pattern over and over and over and over and over. And in turn, that leads to injury, which again, if you're fighting through pain every day, it's not fun. It's just not fun. And there has to be some fun to it. If not, you never want to do it. And again, there are days, I'm not saying every day is going to be rainbows and sunshine. Okay. But to review, parents, if I could just hammer this on, I just think it's a big deal. That's why I'm making this just a short little podcast. Okay. Were you a good teammate? Did you work hard? Did you have fun? And talk about those things. Break those things down. Okay. I mean, think about all the good life lessons you can teach a kid, by really supporting them on them being a great teammate. Maybe somebody was a jerk to them. What would you have done? How would you be a good teammate? You got to play with that kid the next day. What are you going to do about it? How can you be the salt and light in their world in which to be better? In which to, oh my gosh, they were a jerk, but they are part of this team. Maybe they're in a crummy day themselves. Maybe they weren't having fun. Maybe they weren't a great teammate. Can you pull them up? Gosh, that's a huge talking point for you as parents. That's parenting right there. Not yelling from the sideline what you think they should be doing. Come on. I've heard parents, you've probably heard parents yelling stuff from the sideline. It's not your job. You can be supportive. I thought it was interesting. Coach Joe, again from HQ here, was talking through things and just the rules that he has for his parents. And basically, he's got lots of rules, but let me summarize for you. The coaches need to coach, and the families need to support. And you can clap and applaud, go but you're not yelling at other people's kids. Oh, come on, Jack. What are you doing? Dude, it's not your kid. Shut up. Even if it's your kid, shut up. Nobody wants to make an error out there. Okay? Nobody wants to miss a pass. Nobody wants to miss a ground ball. Nobody wants to miss a shot. Nobody's trying to do that. Right? It is what it is. Okay? Do better. Support them. Support them. So anywho, friends, I just think it needs to be said. Parents, please parent. It's hard. I know it's hard because I want to say stuff. I want to say, oh, come on, Reed, you can do this. I want them to have fun because I want him to, right now he's my oldest right now. Reed's playing football. He does wrestling and he does lacrosse. And I'd like him to do, and he's not amazing at any of them, but he's not bad. I'd like him to do football, wrestling, and lacrosse next year too, because he likes them, because he has fun. And then the following year, I'd like him to do wrestling, football, wrestling, and lacrosse, and possibly the following year, and possibly the following year. And maybe at some point he's like, Dad, I really like lacrosse. I want to really focus on that. Okay, cool. Fantastic. Okay, let's talk through that. Not at the age of 13, personally. I know some kids that maybe want to do that. I don't think a 13-year-old necessarily needs to do that. I like the idea of doing multiple things to keep them healthy and keeping their brain doing multiple things. But anyway, that's a different conversation. I just want you to support your kids so they have positive sport experiences. And again, just to review, I can't think of Jenny McDowell. There, it came to me. There we go. Jenny McDowell. Check out the Jenny McDowell podcast. Jenny, I'm so sorry I forgot your name. Oh my gosh. Sorry. Long day. Did you work hard? Were you a good teammate? Did you have fun? It's a big deal, friends. It's a big deal. Thanks for listening, parents. Keep fighting the good fight. I love having conversations like this. You ever want to talk more, don't hesitate to reach out. It's just a big deal, especially if your kids train with us and you spend money, extra money for your kids to be better. And we want to make sure that they excel on the field because you're investing. It's an investment. I get it. But they're also kids. So it might be the worst investment you ever make because you don't know the return you're going to get. So, oh gosh, I'm sorry I said that about your children. You have fantastic children, but it's a thing. So awesome. Listeners, thanks for listening. We'll catch you on the next one.
Ladies and gentlemen, thanks again for listening to another episode of Oak Performance Radio. Don't forget to check us out on the social at Oak Performance and online at www.oakstrength.com/Oak Performance. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you next time.